why I became a bars facilitator, because I personally experienced anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And this random, because I believe in the universe and all of those gifts from the universe. So I randomly got this session and I was like, what is this? Like, I never experienced this level of happiness. And then I just kept creating, and all the things that I was building up for the last 4 years just happened in 1 week. So it's when I discovered that happiness happens inside of you, not from externalities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I define stress as a feeling. And I'll give you a little example of how to kind of simulate that feeling.
Yeah.
So if I were to set a board on the floor, say 3 feet wide and 10 feet long,
Okay.
I won't convert that to metric for you, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
You probably would have no problem at all walking down that board. You might dance down it. You might do cartwheels down it if you have some gymnastic ability. And you wouldn't think have a second thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
If
Because
I would move it up,
right? 3 by 5, it's
3 by 10, yeah.
3 by 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I moved it up and say put it between 2 chairs, maybe a little bit. You might not be quite as free and going down it. You might think, I could fall, something like that. But you'd still probably be able to do it. But if I move that board up now, say 100 feet and put it between 2 buildings, exactly. And you see, that's the feeling right there of stress.
Oh, interesting.
It does not require, that's the thing about stress, it does not require an outside event or a circumstance.
It's all in here.
It's all in our head. Yes, we create the stress. It's created 100% from our thinking.
You are the person with whom you're living for the rest of your life, for all your life. So you need to be the person who makes yourself happy and fulfilled. And another point that you mentioned, which is something really beautiful, this work or this process of aligning with your values. This is actually an ongoing work.
Totally agree, Denise. And this is because I worked as an individual coach with people who were changing career, right? And what I see in a lot of cases, this moment of frustration with the work, it influences a lot the perception of a person's self-value. And it will not get better. Once you are there, it's not getting better. It's a lie that it will get better. In the most of the cases, it's not getting better. So it just gets worse. And the thing is that when you don't perceive this value, but it's not that you are wrong. You are just in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself in this situation, just go find another place. Don't keep blaming you. Don't keep saying I'm bad, I have no worth. Because I think it can contribute in some with your mental health, right, in a negative way.
You can shift your energy level for sure.
Wow, cool.
So in my coaching practice, that's where I'm sort of, working on these two together because they're so complementary, the energy leadership and the positive intelligence.
Okay, well, the story of the play is fun because I had no idea that Michelle had this kind of thing in her mind, and she did. She'd been thinking since she was very young that she thought it would be great to do a play. And then she told me, and this was only a few years ago, 3 years ago, she said on the sofa, I started to write a play about autism. And I said, we've been together 27 years.
I know. I was like, and you didn't think of telling me before now?
I said, where is it? And she said, oh, no, I lost it. And of course, my heart sunk to the bottom. And I said, well, tell me what it's about. We'll start over. She told me what it was about in her mind.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that's it. We finished the book. We published the book. Let's start the play. You start writing down your ideas. Let's go for it.
When I was doing my practicum, I had a lady that was in her early 60s come to me. Her belief system was that she was a klutz. And so when she got to my office, I opened the door and she immediately tripped and there was nothing there. And she said, see, I told you I'm a klutz. So we worked with that. And what came up, the belief that came up, is she was around 2 or 3 years old, so not hugely steady on her feet. And she tripped. And her dad picked her up and threw her in the air. She remembered the moment exactly and laughed and spun her around and said, oh, you're such a klutz. And she took that to heart. He didn't mean it to be, derogatory to her, but she bought it hook, line, and sinker and tripped on everything. I'm not kidding you. She could trip on air. She left my office and she was thrilled. She phoned me 2 years later and she said, I have to tell you, she said, I have not tripped once.
So my intention for why I teach, for, my grand vision for it all, is to bring more beauty and love to the world. And, I help people do that with what they're sharing on their social media all the time. And to see where they were, where they started from, and then where they come to is just extraordinary.
The idea of giving is really powerful. And, when it comes to business, I think people find it difficult to translate, because business is all about, obviously, some sort of exchange. There needs to be an exchange. And so the idea of giving and taking, I think, needs to be looked at in a slightly different light. And I think exchange might be a better way of looking at it rather than giving and taking.
Yeah.
Right? I'm giving and they're taking, or they're giving and I'm taking. Well, how about we just exchange when the time is right? When we both are clear on what we can actually give to the other person that will be beneficial to them, then how about we exchange? And the exchange is on value, right? Exchange is about care. Exchange is about service, versus giving and taking, which could be about money, which could be about opportunities, which could be about resources and knowledge and any of the other things that we talk about.
That's exactly right. I think that's one of the places where having that support of a coach and a guide can be super helpful, is helping you stay focused on what you want and why you want it, and keeping you in alignment with what's really important with your values, as you just mentioned. Because it's easy for us to go off track and to make easy autopilot decisions that I guess that are not in alignment with what we really want, because we've just developed some habits that served us at one time and now they no longer do. I think that's where it can be helpful to have like a health, wellness, or life coach to help you stay on course.
How I help people is that they create their own space, so they can discover clarity around circumstances that we all have the circumstances that we live in, that we exist in, whether it's our business, our personal. But if they can create space within their own system and their own energy, then they view those circumstances a little differently. And once we can view things differently, we become observant of what else is really going on. And it lets us be much more mindful about impacts that we're creating, and we can be more present with what's really needed in that moment rather than the reactions that we all so readily default to. And so that's what I create for my clients, is a sense of peace and calm and a broadness of space, so that they can find what really works well for them.
And it's these kinds of stories that keep people locked in place, where they feel like, oh, I'm a bad person, I'm unworthy, I'm broken, I need to fix something. And it's helping my clients learn, of course you can make a change, but helping them learn how to do it from a place of wanting to and a reason that they like, not from thinking that they're broken and need fixing, or they just even being like, I don't want to make a change, I just want to let go of this messaging, because they've got this messaging running in their head. So that's the biggest shift.
Yeah, one of my passions, which is language and communication. So within that, there's the power comes from learning when to use precision, when to use ambiguity, when to come from a compassionate place, like when to be vulnerable and then how to be skillfully vulnerable, when to have perspective taking and the capacity to adapt our language and communication style to who we're speaking to.
It's the nose, and there's something called LSD. We're going to take some LSD, light, slow, and deep. So a lot of people think, okay, you say to somebody, take a deep breath, and they go, right? So they've just opened their mouth and they go right up into their upper. So when you say LSD, light, slow, and deep, it's light breath, slow, and deep. Deep into the lower.
In the diaphragm.
You'll notice that when you breathe through your nose, that it's a narrower passageway, so it takes longer for the air to get down into the lungs.
I just think it's so important for us to be aware of what we can do in a healing, holistic way to be well and stay well. And the body code and the emotion code is just one of the perfect modalities for that.
Entrepreneurs tend to be a very creative bunch. We can create offers and we can create, and we think, oh, well, I need to, help this person over here. Oh, maybe I need to be on this platform over there. And so there's a real tendency, and we're often motivated by what we see on other social media platforms, and people say, well, this is the magic pill and this is the magic button and this is the easy button. But truthfully, the best way to move your business forward is to uncomplicate it, keep it simple, silly, or as I say, just simplify things.
The real mission to kind of support women 35 plus was because when I came out of drama school as an actor, I realized there was kind of a lack of stories that were being told about women of a certain age. You could be young, you could be old, couldn't kind of be in between. But so I started my production company, Slackline, to help tell those stories. And I work with female directors, writers, and telling stories that have to feature a strong character that's a woman 35 plus.
Yeah, I got it. I'm going to be a grieving mom throughout life. I mean, as long as I'm alive, I'm going to be grieving because, of course, I will always miss my son, and any mom's going to miss her child. The only thing is that grief takes on different forms, and you could still thrive, right? There are many women and men, fathers, who have used from their tragedy into thriving to help someone else. And to me, it's more like, if you've gotten to a certain level, turn around and give a hand up of support to someone else who is just starting their journey.
As the business evolved from makeup artistry to image consulting, coaching and consulting in businesses and working with executives, what I found was it's about moving from where they are right now to achieving a wow result. And what I found was a lot of clients, when I would physically make them over and we would look at their character, their values, the things that were most important to them, how they approach life, their perspective, their mindset, the result was always a resounding wow that came out of their mouth. Wow. So with that, it was moving them from now to a wow experience.
That's how I ended up in neurolinguistic programming. And then I continued to learn from other schools after that because it changed my life so much. I didn't communicate very well with my family and almost talking too much, I guess you can sort of say. And when I got back, my daughter said to me, whatever you did back there,
keep it up.
I kind of like you now.
Yeah, so often people have seen these models of motivation and they talk about internal and external motivation. And if you really think about it, can you make anyone do anything? No. So there's no external motivation. It all comes from within. So that's the number one key. When we understand what drives our behavior and what gives us energy, because motivation equals energy. That's really what it is. If you think about it, if I have energy, I'm here, I'm talking to you and doing things. If not, I'm not motivated. I'm watching TV for hours on end. So that's the first key, is really understanding that it comes from within, and that self-awareness and knowledge will help us to gain the energy, or to see when we're slipping and going into demotivation, what we can do to bring it back up.
And that's the power of change. It's going to happen. And we're going to go back to that phrase again. You can either move with change, do those 3 steps, or you can be dragged by change. Here's the one thing I want to say too, and I know you're going to move to the next thing here, but I got to say this. So when we're speaking of change, I want us to be very clear here about being fearless. I want to challenge you all today to think about this term, fearless. How many of you have heard people say that? You got to be fearless. Just jump off your thing and have no wings and you'll be okay. No, you need a parachute. You need a plan. I have done that and I've fallen on my face many times. And trust me, you need a parachute, you need a plan. So here's the thing about being fearless. I don't believe that we are fearless, but I do believe that we can fear less. And like you said, Denise, think about that space between fear, space, less. Take a deep breath between fear and less, please. Okay, is it detrimental to your life? Is it going to take you off the planet? Possibly not. Okay, so now we're in the middle. Now we can decide. Accept, address, embrace, move forward.
Yes, definitely. You just got to get out there and start doing it, and it will become more comfortable. But I think a lot of times people, they want to, I'll do it when I lose weight. I'm going to lose some weight. And I get a lot of people, actually, I just was talking to a girl today and she goes, I want to start working with you after I lose weight. I'm like, why not feel great today?
Yeah.
Why wait till you lose the weight? Like, there's different things you can do to look in the mirror and say, I look spectacular.
If you eat too much of the food that is pre-packaged and ready, whatever, ready to consume, and they use different ingredients in there that are not from the, you cannot pronounce them. Let's put it this way. So in the food, what's there that isn't food, it does kill your microbes. It does. And you've heard of that. You've heard of antibiotics, right? Oh, you take antibiotics, you must take probiotic after. You've heard of that. Why? Because now your gut flora is all messed up, and you lost microbes, and you have to repopulate your microbiome.
I would really like to talk, which is the final part of the 3 piece of, growing, is protection. It's very important to have plans in place to protect your asset and your estate. So looking at wills, looking at trusts, they're all part of the wealth building process. They're all part of that process that ensures that you live a peaceful life, and you also are able to make sure that everything about you is very well taken care of when the time comes for that.
I love it when I get messages that I have to deliver to other people. I'll be at the kitchen sink doing the dinner dish. It's like, oh no, wait a minute. I have to tell somebody whatever, because somebody's come in front of me and said, this person needs to hear this. Or it's, send some peaceful energy to this friend of yours because they really need it right now. You know how it is. You just tune in.
Focus.
Exactly.
And another element too about stress and anxiety, people are also grinding their teeth. A lot, one client out of 3 that I have, grinding their teeth. They're wearing mouthpieces at night. That is stress, people. You can alleviate the stress by doing exercises, working acupressure points in the jaw area, in the cheek area, in the jaw area. We can alleviate so much pain. With all of my clients, they're just erasing most of their pain. So face yoga there's so many beautiful elements that people are not aware of.
But part of this is connect to what you were just saying, which is
there are facts. There are things that happen in life, in our own lives, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's the stories that we create around those facts.
Yeah.
And two different people can see the same facts and create different stories.
Amen.
And it's really our stories that affect our lives.
Yeah.
More than
Yeah.
any facts, it's the interpretation and the stories we make up.
Well, it's a fancy name for a thought organizer. And where that came from, a client once referred to me as an organizer. That's something I'm really not. I'm not the Martha Stewart, and you know, with the fancy little plastic bins and all of this kind of stuff. And she says, no, Kitty, that's not what I mean. She said, and I can still hear her voice. She said, you help people to organize their thoughts so that they can focus on something.
I just kept, no matter what, I just kept doing it, no matter what. One, because I loved it, and because I'm the type of individual, when I decide something, it's the old, you know, somebody said to me one time, oh, you're the dog with a bone, you never quit. And it's just my personality. So I started helping women build their business, a nutrition business. Then that led to working with other women in holistic and spiritual businesses.
Yes, because at a cellular level, all of your emotions are stored in the body. It's in your DNA. It absolutely is true. And I previously would have thought, I really didn't understand what that meant, but everything that happens in your life can be explained through your body. Basically, it's taught me how to be a body reader, a face reader. And my teacher also, so that Carol, and the creator of the work is Herman Mueller, who's since passed, but he would say, the proof's in the pudding, and he'd pinch us.
I talk about how emotions and energy are one. And the two things that impact our body and our cells, first and foremost, are our energy and our environment. And sometimes we can feel like maybe uncertain or unstable or not supported, not appreciated, maybe by those around us or our family members. But recognize that when you stand true in understanding and having that clarity in your own emotions and what's going on with you, recognize that a lot of people aren't given the vision that you were. They're probably not going to understand it. And that's okay. You know, it's a great power in understanding your own and being able to hold the space and come from a place of aloha.
We're not meant to be all alone. And a lot of my journey was alone. And I had many amazing teachers and really were meant to get help. And so it's helping to empower others to learn to be their own energy workers for whatever the result is. And then as an online energy healer, as an 𝙎𝙖𝙍 healer, I can help them move a lot of energy in a short period of time to keep them on their path and to keep them going and move into empowerment.
You don't have to fall down that rabbit hole. You can actually change everything about your health outcomes by taking a look at what you're putting inside your body and how you're treating your body. And when we have a clean body on the inside, so it's not enough to just have a shower or a bath and wash our outer body. That's not enough for good hygiene and good health, right?
Yeah.
In our world today, we actually need to be detoxing because we live in a toxic world.
People that need a divorce coach. So not everybody needs a divorce coach. It's really people that don't have that person, don't have that support, are really uncertain about what to do, or they're noticing that they're really having challenges around how to approach problems, how to deal with communication things, how to make decisions, how to set their goal for their future. All of those things are kind of coachable things.
And it's so important to actually change the language and the story we're telling ourselves. So I always think that it's, what's the new story? So we're so attached to the old story that we have learned to tell ourselves that it takes a lot to actually move into your new story. And I remember just a week ago when I was in Spain, there was this beautiful question that we all spent a little time on is what's the story we're going to tell ourselves in 2022? And just writing that, changing that, really helped us to feel it in our body and change all these, everything else that I wanted to just leave behind in Valencia. So it was such a fun thing. I kept saying, this backpack that I was carrying with all these things,
I'm leaving it here.
I'm leaving it here. There's no way I'm going to carry it
I
back.
love that.
Yeah. And so what's in your backpack is the question. What are you carrying around with you?
Yeah.
And what are you willing to change?
Focus on what benefits you, what works for you. And I will be the first person to tell you that it's hard work. It's an effort. And once you get good at it, like anything else, it gets easier and easier. There's just a curve. I don't want to be one of these pie in the sky positivity people who say, oh yeah, just think positive and it'll all work out. Everything's good. It takes work. It does take work. And you get to put your attention on it. And once you put your attention on it, that's the hard part. Once you get through that, you're good.
You sign up for a networking event after event. Like your whole calendar is full of all these networking events. And that doesn't leave you time then to actually do the follow-up and do those other things because you're jumping from event to event. So knowing what our strengths are can help us have an idea of what are the distractions that are going to get in our way so that we can then be ready for them and have a plan in place to deal with them so that we don't fall into those traps.
I had the opportunity to give up and go back to my family, to my comfort zone, but I stayed. And for you to be able to go through the challenging times, you have to make a decision every single day. And I love to call that courage because sometimes people think of courage as, the firefighter jumping in a house on fire to save a baby. That's courageous. That's brave. But also before jumping into that house on fire, you make a decision. I'm going to do this. And that decision piece is really important. What are you choosing to do through your challenging times? What are you choosing to do when you are faced with difficult decisions? I chose to follow my dream. I chose to stay the course, not knowing what was going to happen, with no evidence, actually, with proofs coming from the outside world that it's not going to happen. But ultimately, I won my case. And I became, it created a new story that now has allowed other women after me to win their case because they saw I won mine.
I am a woman of faith. And what I mean by faith is not like a denomination or a particular concept of religion, but more so a woman that believes that the universe conspires for my good. Everything happens in divine timing. And my job, my purpose is to take whatever gifts, talents, and anything that I have as far as a resource for myself and share it with the world for the betterment of humanity. And so when I say I'm a woman of faith, I do that in extreme faith, right? That it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to. Exactly. It's all good. It literally is all good. Like, I love that. That's I believe that. Because even when it's bad, it's still good.
And a lot of people don't realize that minor incidents in our childhood are controlling how we are showing up today. So let me give you an example. Let's say in kindergarten, you went to a sandbox and saw a group of kids that are playing in there. And you thought, oh, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to be with them. And they said, no, this is not for you. Oh my goodness, a little incident like that. And we know kids don't try to be mean. They just sometimes don't know. They don't have a filter. But now you go through life feeling uncomfortable in groups.
Being rejected.
You don't speak up in the boardroom. You don't ask for a raise. And this little incident that seems insignificant, that maybe lasted 10 minutes altogether, is controlling the next 5 decades of your life.
Often your clients will probably describe themselves as lost, and I found you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if those are words that come out of their mouth.
No.
I was lost and I found Denise.
And you
You
can
know?
really bring that, the unity in groups together. That your chart shows that very strong. So that's so cool that you've got this going. That's awesome.
And your inner
Wonderful.
voice just comes through because as a projector, you just know. You don't know how you know. And then when they ask you how you know, can you teach me how you know? You don't know how to teach them how they know because yours is so integrated within you. Your whole design is to just have that inner guidance of helping people who are lost find their way through the gunk and the junk and the yuck. And then all of a sudden, and that's the 3, you've already experimented with all the different ways, and now you come up with the right one. And the 5 is they come and find you. You just got to be able to say, when am I supposed to change it or tweak it or do something?
And it's the same for everything I buy. The criteria is just different depending on what I'm buying. Whether it's a stick of gum or a house, it's the same buying process inside of me that might be different than yours. So Cora allows someone to go through that. So when I say to someone, how else were you hoping I could help you further at the beginning of the action step? And someone says, well, you do this, right? You can help me. I said, yeah, I'd love to walk you through my program. And I'll say, here's what the program is. Here's what it entails. Here's how long it is. And then I say, what questions do you have? And you would be surprised the number of people who never ask me how much it costs. Because most people, the cost is actually not part of their decision-making process.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we all have that survival part of the brain, and it's the oldest part, and it's so strong. It's a muscle within our brain, and so it wants to keep you safe. And so unless you can quiet that part of your brain and you can kind of like, I know you want to keep me safe, but I'm going to stretch myself. I'm going to do something different. You will never be something different. And our soul craves growth and contribution. Those are the 2 big things that makes us feel alive. And so stepping out, and just even if it's just by a little, that's going to make a big difference.
What makes me special? Well, I've always been working on companies that grow or need changes. And that is my specialty. So if you want to grow your company, if you're just happy with where you are and you just want to have your bookkeeping done, I'm not your accountant. I'm your accountant if you want to grow your business and you want to change things and you want to use the latest technology for making things very efficient. That's where I can help you. That's where my added value comes in. And basically, if you want to look at the long-term plan, that's where I can help you. So you want to retire. I think everybody wants to retire, but not too many people in my environment are ready to talk about it or set goals for that. And that's where I can help people from, okay, what do you need? Where do you want to go? And let's talk about that.
Some leaders will come and just take the course on their own. Maybe the company has paid for them. But the company didn't look through the course. So if we get to the mission, vision, and values and they don't know what it is, I'll say, well, let's just imagine what it is. Let's talk about how you treat people or the expectations that have been set to you at this point. And what do you think those values are? And then, and we just sort of extrapolate from there. And then we talk about what does that look like in your department? Because I work generally with small to medium-sized companies, so I'd say up to about 500. But you might have an accounting department that's in a mine or somewhere, right? So the accounting department, while the mission, vision, and values exist and theirs need to match, theirs need to maybe say something a little bit different. So that so they can have their own mission and vision, probably the same values, but they can have their own mission and vision on how the accounting department is the mission of the company.
So I noticed that the days that I don't get up and meditate are the days that things kind of go a little bit haywire. And this is even like if it doesn't happen on purpose. Let's say like I wake up and I'm in a rush or something happens that gets me out of my routine. Then I notice that my day can go a bit haywire. But if I stay to my routine of my mindset, then I can remember, okay, let me bring it back. And sometimes I will take, if I didn't get to do it that morning, I'll take 10 minutes out of the day somewhere where I have a break and I'll do it. And then that helps me reframe my mindset and get back into what I said I was going to do and how we're going to let it flow.
For another client of mine, his goal was to lose 12 pounds in 3 months. Well, he's lost 14.5 pounds in 1 month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about behavior changes.
Yeah. Just like, start biking to the gym, to the Y, start, You know, cut out the snacks in between your three
Yeah, it
meals.
makes a big difference when you add it all together.
Yeah, it's snowball effect. Stop drinking your calories. That's a big one.